You know that feeling, right? Where you're like scrolling through everything, messages popping up constantly.
Yeah.
You're technically connected to, well, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's still this kind of nagging feeling of being completely on your own.
Yeah, that emotional isolation, it's real.
It really is. And the source material we're looking at today, it really dives into that. It's more than just, a bad mood, this kind of persistent loneliness. Unfortunately, it can lead to things like anxiety, maybe even depression for some people.
That's such a crucial point. The article we've been reading, it really highlights this exact paradox you're talking about. Being hyper-connected but feeling profoundly lonely.
Right.
And it stresses how this is feeding into what a lot of people are now calling a global mental health emergency. It's a huge issue affecting so many.
Absolutely. And that brings us right to what we're digging into today. We're going to explore a kind of fresh perspective on mental well-being. It's based on an article introducing this app called Chosn, Chosn. It's described as being for audio journaling.
Audio journaling, yeah.
Now, if you're like a lot of people, maybe traditional mental health tools, even just like writing in a journal, sometimes that can feel like one more thing on the list,
Oh, definitely. Especially when you're already feeling totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. So the core problem Chosn seems to be tackling is that exact feeling being weighed down by the sort of traditional methods.
Right. It's recognizing that the standard approaches just don't always work for everyone, particularly when you're feeling distressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our goal today really is to understand how this voice-based thing works. Like, does it actually offer a meaningful alternative for, getting some mental well-being support?
Mm-hmm.
What's the thinking behind it?
Okay, so before we get into the nuts and bolts of Chosn itself, it's probably important to grasp just how big the issue it's trying to address really is.
Yeah, the context matters.
For sure. The article lays out some pretty striking statistics. It mentions right at the start that millions feel more alone than ever. That phrase alone just kind of hits you, doesn't it?
It really does. And then you see the actual numbers, and it gets even more sobering.
Like what?
Well, in the U.S., just into 2021, over 12 million adults seriously considered suicide.
12 million, wow.
And 1.7 million actually attempted it. I mean, those figures really just show the depth of the struggles people are facing.
And it's not just that extreme end either. The article also points out that in the U.S., 1 in 4 adults reported symptoms of anxiety or depression.
1 in 4. That's huge. That's likely people we all know.
Definitely.
And globally, it's also a major concern. The article cites that about 5% of adults worldwide suffer from depression each year. You put all that together, it just hammers home the urgent need to find, new and effective ways to support mental well-being for everyone.
And there was something else significant too, wasn't there, about physical health?
Oh, right, yes. The article draws a direct link between this loneliness and actual physical health risks, things like heart disease, stroke, even diabetes.
So it's not just in your head, so to speak.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It really drives home that this isn't just about feelings. It has real, tangible consequences for your overall health. That connection between social isolation and physical illness, it's pretty well established in research now.
Right.
It just reinforces why tackling loneliness and supporting mental health isn't just like a nice to have. It's fundamental for well-being, even longevity.
Okay, so understanding that background, the scale of the challenge, and the fact that maybe traditional methods aren't always the answer, this is where the article brings in Chosn.
As a potential alternative, yeah.
And one of the key points it makes is why traditional journaling, sitting down, writing your thoughts, why that can be tough for some people, especially when they're feeling emotionally drained. Why do you think that is?
Well, the article hits on something really key, I think. It says, basically, when you're feeling truly overwhelmed, the idea of having to sit down and structure your thoughts into written words, it can feel like one more overwhelming task.
Yeah, I can see that.
Writing actually takes a certain amount of cognitive effort, right?
Yeah.
Filtering, structuring. That can be really taxing when you're already feeling anxious or depressed or just sort of numb.
That makes total sense. Just staring at a blank page, it feels like another demand when you have zero energy.
Exactly.
And this is where Chosn comes in with its main idea, right? Shifting the focus away from the effort of writing.
To the more maybe natural act of just being heard.
Exactly.
The founder, Andre Smith, he's quoted directly. He says, when people are anxious, grieving, or emotionally numb, they don't want to write. They want to be heard. They need connection.
They need connection.
That really gets to the heart of what Chosen is trying to tap into. It's acknowledging that need to express yourself, to feel heard. Maybe that can be met more immediately just by speaking. It might be less laborious than writing for some people.
Okay, so how does it actually work then? Like, what's the practical process if someone uses this audio journaling thing?
So, according to the article, it's designed to be super simple. You basically call into the app, almost like leaving a voicemail,
Okay.
and then you just speak freely, whatever's on your mind. The article does mention it gives gentle, guided prompts for mental health, too.
So it's not just dead air if you get stuck.
Right. Seems like there's some light guidance if you need a little nudge for your reflection.
And then what happens with what you record? It mentions AI, artificial intelligence. What's that doing?
Yes. So the article says there's an AI, sort of, mental health assistant listening as you talk. And this seems important. It's not giving therapy or direct advice.
Okay, so it's not like talking to a therapist AI.
No, not really. It's primarily listening for the emotional tone in your voice and identifying key patterns in what you're saying over time.
Patterns? Like what?
The idea seems to be that this analysis could help you gain insights into your own thoughts and feelings, sort of spotting trends maybe, but without you having to consciously write it all out or analyze it yourself right then and there.
Huh. So it's like having a non-judgmental listener that might also help you see things over time just by talking.
Pretty much. And the article really emphasizes the ease of use, like no screens to stare at, no complex menus, just your voice.
That no screens part feels significant somehow.
Yeah, I think that's a key differentiator. We're so screen saturated, right? This offers a more direct, maybe less intimidating way to engage with your thoughts. Just audio. It removes those barriers that screens or typing might create when you're already feeling, bogged down.
Now, the article is pretty clear that Chosen isn't therapy, right? It's careful to say that.
Definitely.
So how should people think about its role? Where does it fit in?
It positions Chosen as potentially a meaningful first step. That's the phrase used.
First step, okay.
Yeah, so not a substitute for seeing a trained professional, but maybe an accessible tool for, like, self-reflection and emotional processing day to day. A way to start engaging with your mental well-being in a maybe low-pressure, private way.
And who do they see as the target audience? Who's this really for?
The article points to a few groups. First, people who've just never clicked with traditional journaling, maybe found writing daunting.
Right, the blank page fear.
Exactly. Second, folks who've maybe tried other self-help stuff and struggled. And finally, well, anyone looking for an AI-powered mental health support app that still feels human-centered. Probably because of that voice element.
That's interesting, that human-centered AI idea. Using tech, but making it feel more natural.
Yeah, less clinical maybe than some other digital tools out there. And the article also hints at the future potential. While right now it's about the individual user.
Yeah.
There's a vision where it could potentially evolve. Maybe become a platform to help therapists or researchers understand broader trends in emotional health. And honestly, of course.
Wow, okay. Using aggregated data to see bigger patterns. That's ambitious.
It is. But they reiterate that the main mission for now is simple. Just helping people heal through voice, that individual experience.
Got it. So the focus is still very much on that personal act of speaking and reflecting.
Precisely. And that really leads into the article's concluding thought, which kind of ties it all together.
Jeez.
It emphasizes this shift, right? From telling people, write down your thoughts, to encouraging them to simply speak them.
Yes, I remember those final lines. They were quite powerful. Because sometimes the most powerful healing starts not on paper, but in your own voice. Your voice is enough. Let it be heard. It's a really resonant message, isn't it, about the value of just using your voice.
It really is. And what's interesting there, I think, is how it brings a very human thing, speaking, back into this process of self-reflection. In a world that's so full of digital text and scrolling, the simple act of actually voicing your thoughts, it can feel really grounding. Really connecting, even if technically you're speaking to an AI in this case.
So wrapping up our deep dive into this Chosen article then, the main takeaway seems to be it's presenting this really innovative voice-first way to approach self-care and mental well-being.
Yeah, different angle.
Offering a potential path for people who find traditional journaling maybe difficult or just, well, overwhelming. Tapping into that power of spoken reflection instead.
Absolutely. It really underscores that basic idea. Just speaking your thoughts, letting them out loud, that can be a remarkably effective tool for reflection, for processing emotions. It's fundamentally human, And this app is trying to make that act more accessible.
Which kind of leads to a final question for our listeners, doesn't it? We've explored how Chosn suggests using your voice could be a more accessible first step for tackling those feelings of isolation or overwhelm. So it makes you wonder, could consciously bringing more spoken reflection into your own life, maybe even without a specific app, just finding ways to talk things through, even to yourself, could that actually have a real impact on your well-being?
That's a great thought to leave people with.
Yeah, definitely something to maybe mull over as you go about your day.